Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Once again, thank you so much for attending and happy holidays. I hope you guys have a great time with your family. Today, we'll be talking about how to deal with toxic people and toxic relationships. I feel like this is something that does not really get addressed properly, and I feel like this is something you have to learn the hard way and you have to navigate it by yourself. I hope I can impart my 2 cents and wisdom upon you. Honestly, toxic people fucking suck, okay? There's like something about someone just not giving a crap about what other people think, and they're just completely unaware of how their actions are hurting people around them and let alone themselves. And here's a simple thing, guys. Toxic people will always be toxic. And I hate to say it, you can spend that time and energy trying to fix them and band-aid the solution, but eventually they have to take the responsibility and accountability upon themselves to change and realize that they're fucking up. But it's not your responsibility to deal with the consequences of their actions. And you can do everything possible to remedy the relationship with a person, but eventually, guys, I hate to say it, the best recipe for success is removing yourself from the situation. There were many times where growing up, I had really toxic friends and they weren't really supportive. I get it. You know, you're a young adolescent male just trying to find your way and finding your tribe. And honestly, it's pretty toxic. People tear you down. They shit on you. They're very unsupportive. And a lot of people are envious. The easiest way I found out was get better friends. This was told me by my mentor, and he's right on about it. Finding better friends is crucial to your success or just in life. I feel like when you remove yourself, cutting them off immediately, that gives you the mental bandwidth to really work on yourself and realize, holy crap, I'm gonna take a step back and realize I'm dealing with a lot of disrespect that I just became accustomed to. You become habituated to your existing situation. And at first, when someone's being very rude and disrespectful, you'd be like, hey, stop that. But if this happens over time, it becomes normal and that's your baseline. And realize, holy crap, I've been tolerating a lot of BS. And this is so difficult to just walk away. I think it's the idea of being like, I can walk away from any relationship or situation that I do not want to be in when people are treating me with not the respect and attention that I deserve. Granted, you're a good person, you've worked upon yourself. You can't demand respect if you aren't a respectable person. I feel like if you're the toxic one, we'll address that later, but that's something to think about. I feel like anytime that I've been in a situation where there's someone's just like shit talking or someone envious about me, I was like, hey, I've been through the ringer, been on the block, had a couple friends leave. I found some new friend groups. I'm not afraid of being alone. And I understand that, honestly, I take a step back and go into a position of introspection, be like, what am I doing to possibly bring this upon myself? And eventually, if you've done the mental work, be like, okay, maybe I could be nicer, maybe I could do this, but eventually there's the whole other person. You can't control them. And I understand that like once you get wrapped in, you kind of lose your sense of belonging and self and your own identity. What I'm speaking about specifically is being in a toxic relationship. I feel like once you engage in this relationship, you kind of forget who you are and they really take a part of you and they destroy your soul and you have to kind of like rebuild your foundation from step one. And I like to say, I think the number one thing is stopping the abuse. I think stopping the abuse is the number one most important thing because you're no longer getting hurt. Number two, here's the hard part, is rehabilitation. It's figuring out how to move on from this individual who have caused significant harm. But I feel like we always have to be aware and cognizant of the people we let in our life. I think it's better to do all the work on the forefront than the back end of life. What do I mean by this? Wouldn't it have been a better idea to vet someone more before you let them become your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your friend? And be like, okay, this person exhibits X and X traits. My intuition is saying I don't really like how this person's already lying and I barely know them. I feel like stopping it head on would save you a lot of heartache and pain later on versus trying to stop abuse and toxicity is just so much harder if you just did everything on the front end. I understand there are some relationships that you were just born into. I like to say your relationship with your parents. That's a really, really hard thing, a relationship with your siblings. I'm just going to say this, not very common advice, but if you and your parents are not in a healthy relationship, quote unquote, understand every child and parent, nothing is perfect. You will have your issues. You have fundamental issues. It's just called life. But if it's so toxic where you can't have them in your life, that's okay. You don't need a relationship with your parents. Who says you have to maintain this relationship with an individual who lacks respect and just treats you like crap? What is the fucking point of that? You're hurting yourself and you're hurting them. And I like to say, at this point, maybe you can't have a relationship. You need to limit contact. I understand. Everyone's like, well, it's the holidays. Like, I have to go home. No, you don't. You do not have to go home for the holidays. Like, great examples, look, like, I'm personally not going home for Christmas this year. Why? I just need that mental space for myself. I just want to be here. I don't want to be engaged in family trauma and drama and all that fun stuff. So I've decided to be here. That is completely okay. I'm saying I have a great relationship with my mom and brother, but sometimes it gets too heavy. Being in Denver is a lot of traumatic things that happened to me growing up that I just really don't want to deal with. And who says I have to put myself in that position just to please and obey society and be like, oh, that's your obligation to them? It's like, no. I think it's better if I visit when I truly want to, so I can be 100% present. I understand it's going to lead to a lot of difficult conversations with your parents, but you have to do it. If you don't do it, it's only going to get worse. I would like to say this. I understand the whole idea of like you'd rather be in bad company than alone. And I think that's the dumbest thing possible. I understand loneliness fucking sucks. I've been there. I've been in situations where I didn't really have any friends. The only friends I had were really, really toxic. And I always felt so much more drained after hanging out with these people. I was like, I'd rather be fucking alone than being your friend. And eventually you'll get there. But the power of walking away is quite simple. If they're so toxic, you can try to reason with them. You can try to talk to them. There's no point. From my personal experience, if someone's so bad, I just walk away. Block, ghost, fuck off. Out of sight, out of mind. Easiest solution ever. Easiest way of solving it. And some people say like, oh, that's not mature. You sit them the fuck down. Let's have a man-to-man conversation. But it's like, you can't have a conversation with an individual who will not listen, who will not collaborate and cooperate in this conversation to get better. Sometimes you'll do more harm when engaging with a toxic person than just walking away. Because have you ever heard of gaslighting? If you try to approach someone who's very, very rude and arrogant, they don't think they're wrong. They don't have a social awareness of their own actions. Why would you try to reason with someone who can't be reasoned with? That's the dumbest thing possible, wasting your time, wasting your breath. The time you can try to fix a relationship, you can go and find something new and go and build it. You can literally spend that time instead of trying to forge this relationship, go and find a new one where there's way less baggage. I've noticed that. In any relationship, when shit goes down and bad, you can try to fix it and all this thing, but it's always gonna be the elephant in the room. I mean, if you're talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, we'll have that one time where she cheated. Will you ever be able to overlook that? The reasons what led to your initial breakup will come back. There's a reason why you guys broke up. And I like to say this with friendships too. Good friends, good people do not put you in harm's way. And when someone hurts you, their first thought should be, oh my God, I'm so sorry. If you have to bring it up to them specifically, I feel like good friends are just hyper aware of you. Your body language, the way you look at them, your demeanor. And they'll know when they say something wrong because they care about what you think about them. They care and want to only treat you with kindness. Or if there is a misinterpretation, they're like, hey, I'm sorry, I said this. You seem kind of off-put by that. Example would be like, hey, I said this. You seemed to be put off by it. Can we clarify? Because I really don't want to hurt your feelings. Or there's times where you're going to speak up to them and like, hey, I'm so sorry. I don't want to rationalize my behavior. I'm sorry I hurt you. The number one thing that should be coming from their mouth is, I'm sorry. Not, I'm right, you're wrong. Like, that's the dumbest thing possible. And guys, like, in this life, you have one shot. There are people out there that genuinely love you for who you are. It's time well spent trying to develop those relationships. Okay, if everyone is toxic in your life, maybe you're the common denominator. Maybe you're the toxic one. I believe negativity attracts negativity. Toxic people attract toxic people. Great people don't have time for that shit. Great people can identify negative behavior and they just be like, fuck you, don't want to deal with you. So you really have to take a step back and like, wait, maybe I'm the toxic one. If everyone in your life sucks, you have unsupportive friends, unsupportive parents, unsupportive blah, blah, blah. Yes, there might be a psychological issue where your parents instilled poor confidence and lack of trust and blah, 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 blah. And therefore you made shitty friends. But at certain points, like, you might be contributing to this equation a lot more than you think. So take this time and be like, am I the toxic one? What does that even mean? Do I have good friends that'll be there? I get it. Do the work upon yourself and be the best version possible. And then, if you're confident that you're not the bad one, then you can be like, okay, maybe everyone in my life's just fucking shitty. I'm not going to say this is like a Band-Aid solution for everyone. I get it. There's a lot of individual nuances that we all have in our personal life, but it comes down to this central theme, respect. Are the people I'm hanging out with make me feel better or worse off? Do I feel drained or invigorated by this conversation? And just realize that you're wasting your time dealing with toxic people. Some people can't be saved. some people don't want to be saved. And that's not your responsibility to save them in this life. Everyone has a responsibility to themselves to save themselves. But don't put yourself on the line and your own personal safety and mental health to try to help someone who can't be reasoned with or helped. If you have any questions, please DM me at m.deep20 on Instagram or email me at veterantalksconsult@gmail.com. If you want to set up a one-on-one consultation, please email me. It's quite affordable, and I hope you have a great day. As always, namaste.